What is going on, all of you Nintendo fans out there in the world? I'm Mega Hamster. Thank you for watching this YouTube video. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, I appreciate you stopping by. And yes, it is finally official. As of this recording today, Nintendo announced the Nintendo Switch 2, the successor, the follow-up to the Nintendo Switch. Now, we've had leaks and rumors leading into this for quite a while now, and it is officially confirmed, and which is honestly relieving for me. I like that we finally have a lot of this information, knowing that it's called the Nintendo Switch 2 and all the stuff that we should see in this trailer. Officially confirmed by Nintendo. It's just great to get that out of the way. So I wasn't able to react live to the trailer earlier today just because I was at work, and the YouTube short I had tried to upload kind of corrupted, and it was really weird, so I got rid of that. So for a few minutes here, I wanted to take a look at this just over 2-minute long trailer that Nintendo has for us, focusing on the hardware of the Nintendo Switch 2. And apologies as I'm getting over a sickness here. But as we jump into here, of course, they start with a comparison of the original Switch, right? And we see them take out the Joy-Con and kind of show the different comparisons and the differences. First of all, we can see it's way bigger than what I imagined was. I don't think that was the OLED. I think that was like comparing it to the base model Switch. So I believe this is probably still going to be a size increase from the OLED, but it is marginally bigger than the regular Nintendo Switch. And you can see here, actually, just the amount of bezel space isn't nearly as much as that of especially the original Switch here. I mean, you can see when they do the size increase, like look at the bezels here, and then as soon as it goes up, like boom, look at that. Like much improved in that regard. So definitely a much bigger screen. I actually do have my Switch here there. This is the original Switch, either launch model or red box, I don't fully know. But the bezels on this thing are pretty big, so to see that reduced is great. And then following suit, we have the Joy-Con. Well, first of all, they're doing this little like 3D kind of almost like shaving of the Switch here. We get 2 USB-C ports. That's a big thing here. Power and button volumes are still on the same side. We have that here with the regular Switch as well. But we now have a USB-C port on top, where that wasn't on the original Switch, which is great to see. Pretty much in between where the vents are and the headphone jack, there's this empty space here on the Switch, and that is getting a USB-C port, which is great because then you can have it, if you're playing tabletop mode, for example, you have the kickstand out, and you have it plugged in here. The bottom of the USB-C port is you can't charge it while it's in tabletop mode, or it's very hard to do so, and you don't want to ruin the cable. So that's great to see. The leaks talked about that. A lot of the hardware leaks leading into this, like the recent ones, were 100% accurate, which is interesting that all this leaked out, but clearly it meant that we were ready to see it soon. Speaking of the kickstand, we get a look at the kickstand here. This one's interesting because I believe the OLED, and let me know in the comments below because I never got an OLED, but right, this one's dinky, right? This original Switch model, vote for Pedro. This kickstand is so dinky. It's so awkward. The micro SD card being underneath that, which is a weird spot for it. I believe the OLED had more of like a thick, bigger piece. So this dock it almost looks like a downgrade to me, this dock. It looks a little more flimsy. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that. Granted, I really don't prop it up very often. I did that at the very beginning when I did that when I first got my Switch and I didn't have HDMI on my TV at the time. Or when I used it to like watch YouTube while I'm cooking or something. But otherwise, I really don't use it much. It looks sturdy enough. It just like seems like a bit of a downgrade from like the OLED stand. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's more durable. I don't know. It's just a thinner piece there. And then, of course, we see the upgrade to the Joy-Con themselves. Now, this is interesting because the hardware leaks leading into this were talking about the C button here. It doesn't seem to be labeled C, so I don't know why the leaks said it was a C button. If you happen to know, let me know in the comments below. But this square button below the home button here, that is brand new for the Switch 2. Who knows what it does? Some people speculate it's going to lead into the community aspect, like a Miiverse type thing of the Switch 2 if it has it. Some people speculate it's going to be remote casting, so you're going to be able to cast to your dock and dual screen gaming that way. I don't know. And they don't confirm it here. I don't think it's going to be either of those, but I think if it is one of those two, it's probably more likely to be a community thing. I don't know if they're going to do remote casting for the Switch. It'd be really cool, but I don't expect them to. The Joy-Con are much bigger. It's great to see. I know some people aren't a fan of the mostly black look. I think it kind of looks sleek. It reminds me of the Steam Deck a little bit. And I like that they have color accents like the orange and the blue we see on the other one. I do wish it had a little more color. I'm hoping there are some variants that have more color. Like, even if it's like the ABXY buttons have like colored versions on them. Like, I know some of the Joy-Con out there have that, like some special ones, but I hope there's more customizations with those. I'm sure there will be, and these are just the ones we're going to see on the launch model. We can also see the SL and SR buttons are much bigger. That's great to see, especially considering it's just like the ones on the current Switch are these tiny little things, and when they advertise the Switches like being able to play with these, it's like, this is honestly great to see. We can see something that appears to be like an optical sensor, which we'll go into in a little bit. So that's great to see. And then also just the fact that, so we get this one, the fact that we know these aren't rails, right? They have these little connectors in there. Of course, you get the ABXY buttons like normal. The thumbsticks are probably going to be just as bad as the ones on the regular Switch. I would love for Hall effect, but I don't expect it to. We'll get into the magnetic stuff in a second. Here is where things get, honestly, the most interesting for me. This segment here. Because to me, this confirms the whole optical sensor thing that one of those hardware leaks talked about, where you get to use your Joy-Con as a mouse. Like, we look at this Joy-Con, we see, both of them have to have it. This thing right here is what is being mentioned as the optical sensor. This button here is on the Joy-Con on the original Switch 2. That's to like sync your Joy-Cons. That seems to be there as well. And then that middle piece helps to connect it, besides just the magnets, probably to help read the input to the Joy-Con. Yeah, it has it too. This thing right here, that's the optical sensor. This connects to the where the rails were on the previous Joy-Con. Excuse me. And then I think those things at the end, actually, what are those? Are those extra buttons on the ends here, now that I'm looking at it? I'm trying to understand what those are. What are these things? These are extra buttons, it looks like? Those were not on the regular Switch. So maybe extra trigger buttons, maybe they act like bumpers, but for the side, so maybe more inputs. That's kind of cool. But anyways, the thing that I'm honestly the most interested in potentially in terms of the applications is the optical sensor, which this section here seems to be confirming. This seems to be confirming that it's going to be some sort of optical sensor. What's interesting, actually, looking at this here, we can see the plus icons lining up, and I feel like, okay, yeah, because it clicks, it's almost like they're going to sell you a separate accessory. Like, I don't think this seems to be a separate accessory. That makes sense because it slots in here into this little piece of rubber or something, like the bottom of a mouse to protect the bottom of those Joy-Con. So that makes sense. So they're going to sell you some, maybe it'll come with it. I hope it'll come bundled in. I hope it's not like a separate thing you have to buy, but it looks like you're gonna be able to attach it, and that's what's going to allow for almost like mouse gameplay. What's interesting is it kind of reminds me of my vertical mouse, which I have, which I love. I love using vertical mice, and it almost looks like that with this scenario. I'm just very excited to see the applications of this, because it's such a Nintendo idea to use these controllers as mice, but like it makes me wonder, like for a game like Splatoon, like the new Doom game, which will probably show up eventually on the Switch, any other FPSs especially, Pokemon Unite, games like MOBAs like those, like having mouse control could be really cool. Also for a game like Mario Maker, if we get a port of 2, if they make a third one, or if they make like Mario Paint, for example, having a mouse for that would be really, really useful. It also makes me wonder if we end up getting like DS or Wii emulation on the Switch, if mouse controls could be used for part of that, or even like a game that supposedly will be on here, assumably will be on here. I think the timing of this, we'll get to that at the end here. I think that almost confirms that Prime 4 is going to be a cross-gen game, especially if Prime 4 is slated to come out later this year, you know? So maybe we'll be able to use mouse controls in Prime 4. Like, I think there are a lot of applications for that mouse functionality, and I'm sure there's going to be at least one gimmicky 1, 2, 3 switch or something that'll utilize that mouse functionality more. But to me, the mouse functionality is more interesting than the IR camera on the Joy-Con, because from what we can tell, there's no IR camera on the right Joy-Con on the Switch 2. It's just essentially they seem to get rid of that. I don't know how much it was really used besides like 1-2 switch and maybe WarioWare. This mouse control, assuming developers use it, which they could, especially if they're games that have been on PC, I feel like that could be really useful for a lot of games. So I'm honestly pretty interested in the mouse optical sensor controls here. Let me know in the comments below what you think of that, if you're excited for that. But that's honestly pretty interesting. And now, of course, we get to the whole magnetized Joy-Con, slapping them on there. Of course, we have the separate connector probably so it can read inputs easily, or honestly probably to charge it too, to charge the Joy-Con. That's probably what it is, to charge while connected. So that makes sense. Honestly, I'm a fan of that. The Joy-Con rails on the Switch can sometimes be a little flimsy, especially if you're like me and sometimes you take these Joy-Con apart to replace the thumbsticks and sometimes get a little loose and it's not great. Or like, for example, the rail on the Ring Con for Ring Fit Adventure, I actually had an issue where that kind of broke and I was screwed to like try to slide those on to even get it on. I had to get a new Ring Con. Listen, Ring Fit Adventure, I go hard. No holding my punches there. So I'm a fan of the magnets. I hope they're sturdy enough. I mean, the main thing is like, are they going to be able to be pulled apart easily from the Switch, especially like younger kids worried about like getting their fingers stuck in there? I don't know. You know what I mean? So, but I do like the idea. So, and it seems like they still have release buttons on them to make it easier to like kind of like disable the magnets to take them off. So that's at least cool. But honestly, I think overall it looks sleek. I do hope there are other options besides the mostly black with the color accents on the rails and underneath the thumbsticks. I do hope there are more variants. This might be our launch model, but I hope there are more variants. You know, it does look sleek. It reminds me of the Steam Deck with a little bit of color, but like, I don't know. I do honestly do like the solid coloring of the Joy-Con, you know, on the Switch. I think it adds to a lot of the customization, and I'm hoping some of the custom Joy-Con that get released after launch have some more options for this. So let me know your thoughts on the whole color scheming there in the comments below. But overall, I mean, great to see this. I'm a big fan of the Switch. It's, for me, probably my favorite system now. It's so versatile, and like adding the Joy-Con mice functionality kind of makes it even more versatile. So that's really cool to see, and I love playing games handheld and taking it on the go. I don't think this is an OLED screen, but you know what? If it's a good enough LCD, I'll be fine with that. So it's really cool to see that. And of course, we get the official name reveal of the Nintendo Switch 2. Not the biggest fan of it, but you know what? It's better than what they did from Wii to Wii U, right? We saw how bad of a marketing stunt that was. People thought it was just an add-on to the Wii. Nintendo Switch 2 is clearly the next iteration. We're conditioned because of stuff like the iPhones and Androids to assume that 2, 3, 4 is other sequels. And games too, to be fair, right? So this is the next Switch. Just calling it Nintendo Switch 2 is a safe way to communicate to your consumers that this is the next follow-up. This is the next generation. So I think it makes sense. I don't love the name. I would have loved like Super Nintendo Switch, but like this is the clearest way you can communicate. So I don't mind it. I don't mind it necessarily. And it's just easy to say. We've been saying it for a while too. And then look at that lighting. Oh yeah. So then we see the back here. These buttons are different. Those are, because that's where the release buttons are on the back of the Joy-Con here. So those are probably not extra triggers. I'm guessing those are our release buttons and they're just more tactile, which is cool. They're bigger, so that's good. Little indents here. Ooh, there we go. That'll be more comfortable. So yeah, cool stuff to see. I don't know where the micro SD goes. I didn't even see that. And then of course we get the game. I'm going to talk about this a little bit, but probably save it for later when we get more of an in-depth look at Mario Kart. But this is seemingly a new Mario Kart with redesigns too. So we get this kind of like Yoshi diner, like desert kind of circus. This is a brand new track, Mario Bros. Circuit. So that's cool to see. We see some new carts, it looks like too. But yeah, this is new design. This almost reminds me of in the Mario 64 like art renders, not in game, but like for promotional materials. It honestly reminds me of that art style. Bowser looks kind of chonkier. Luigi looks chubby back there. My boy DK looking a lot like he does in the movies. You barely get a look at him, but he's back there. So that's great to see. I mean, I figured there was going to be a new Mario Kart near launch. This to me means it's going to be at launch, which is great to see. I love that. I'm excited for a new Mario Kart. I'm ready to move on from Mario Kart 8. No Mario Kart 8 Ultimate Deluxe Edition. We don't need that. The dock looks to be more in line with what we saw with the OLED. It's more rounded. I'm more used to this rectangular one that we have with the original Switch. But that's cool to see. So the dock looks pretty solid. I'll be curious to see if it's compatible with the original Switch. I doubt it, but I don't know why it wouldn't be. I mean, I guess like if they have upscaling in the dock itself, I don't know, but that's cool to see. And then we can see the grip as well make a return. It looks very similar to the one we had with the original Switch. There we go. There's Donkey Kong on the TV. Look at him. What did they do to my boy? It's gonna take some adjustments to get used to that Donkey Kong redesign, but there he is. You see Wario and Waluigi in the background, some of the princesses, maybe some babies. I see Koopa Troopa. So, hey, that's cool to see. That is cool to see. We get a new Mario Kart game coming sometime. Maybe not at launch, but certainly around the launch or so. Definitely this year, I would imagine. Actually, what was that little gold fruit thing? Huh. Interesting. Keep that in mind. Maybe some kind of... I don't know if that's a regular item, Ooh, it could be like a special item. That'd be sick. If I'm like double dash, that'd be cool. Anyways, they dropped 2025 on us, so no release date for the system itself. However, we'll get into a date in a little bit. We get the reconfirmation of backwards compatibility, and for a while, people were wondering, okay, is it just physical? Is it just digital? What's going on? Here, they confirm Nintendo Switch 2 plays both physical and digital Nintendo Switch games. Certain Switch games may not be supported on or fully compatible with Switch 2. Details will be shared later. I'm guessing that's probably like Labo. Probably won't work because they're designed for the specific size of the Switch 1 Joy-Con. Also, unfortunately, probably means Ring Fit Adventure is not compatible. I imagine they're probably going to update the game to make it compatible. They're probably going to release a new Ring Kong to make it compatible. I'll have to see if I end up getting that, or make a sequel or something, you know? But I don't think that means Ring Fit's going away. I think they're going to bring it somehow to the Switch successor. It's one of the best-selling games on the Nintendo Switch, so I feel like that'll work. But definitely Labo is probably not going to be carried through or work. So certain stuff like that really relies on that shape of the old Joy-Con, I don't think will work. And maybe some other exceptions too. You know, we don't know if like certain third-party games maybe won't be supported. We don't know. We'll have to figure that out later, but I'm hoping most of them are. So, and it seems like most of them will be based on this communication. So we know at least Mario Wonder works. So there we go. I'm sure all first-party games are going to work. So good to get the reconfirmation there, which is great. And then we get this dropped on us. So for a second, I thought they were saying the Switch 2 comes out on April 2nd. Misinterpreted that at the very beginning, but now we have confirmation of a Nintendo Direct centered around the Nintendo Switch 2. That is what's happening. I imagine it's going to be similar to... Honestly, I don't think it's going to be the same live format that was with the original Nintendo Switch, though the January presentation. I don't think we're going to get that. I think it's just going to be a digital presentation focusing on upcoming Nintendo Switch 2 games. That's going to be my guess. Maybe hardware as well, too, where they go in more depth on the hardware, but I'm guessing we're going to get more details about the games here, too. So maybe some of the tech-related stuff, that's probably where we'll get price info. I think that's the next spot where we get a lot of info about the Switch 2. I don't expect any more info on this thing until then. There are rumors going around about there still being a February Direct for the current Switch, which, I mean, I could see. They could still support that. And they could give us more details on games that we know are coming to Switch 1, like Metroid Prime 4, right? So we'll see. I don't know for sure, but don't expect any news on the Switch 2 until this Nintendo Direct in just under a few months. So a little bit of a ways to wait. And then they have this Nintendo Switch 2 experience they're launching, kind of going around in the world. Unfortunately, not to any city near me, which kind of sucks. It'd be many hours of a drive out of the way. But hey, if you're in the area, definitely try to go sign up for it and check it out. It'll probably be booked, but you know what? It is what it is. But anyways, that is going to do it for this overview of the Switch 2 first look trailer. Overall, my thoughts, I love the fact that it's a Switch, but more, you know, bigger, better design, you know, probably better specs. And we got the confirmation of a new game being Mario Kart. Like, that's great to see. You know, I wasn't expecting many new games, if any. So it's great to see we have a new game to look forward to on the Nintendo Switch 2. And the one thing is, like, I hope there are more color variants, because, like, as much as I like the sleek black design with the slight kind of hints of color on there, I kind of hope there are more color options to make it look at least a little more colorful. But that's just me. I mean, overall, it looks really good. I'm excited for this thing. I'm going to try to get a pre-order this thing. Probably not going to go well, especially at the very beginning, but we'll see. But with that, that is going to do it for this overview of this trailer. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Are you excited for the Nintendo Switch 2? Are you happy it's finally announced? What about the different features we see? And what about the new Mario Kart footage shown off? What do you think about that? But with that, thank you all so much for watching. I'll catch you all on the next video or live stream. And until then, keep on gaming. Nintendo fans, keep eating. Nintendo Switch 2 is on the horizon. See you later.